Hey everybody, coming up on today's episode of Front End Fire, Rolldown 1.0 reaches RC stage. Another JavaScript tool switches to Rust. Can you guess which one? And TanStack is going RSC.
Yeah.
It's a great episode, so let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Front End Fire podcast, the web development podcast that keeps you up to date on the latest and the greatest in the front end world. I'm your host today, Paige Niederinghaus, and I am joined by my co-hosts, Jack Harrington.
Hello.
And TJ Van Tol.
Hey everybody.
Hey, and the people that, don't like our long dancing intro, you guys need to touch grass. Seriously. We enjoy it. It's fun.
Exactly. We're doing this podcast because we like talking to each other and we like talking to you.
There you go.
We're going to do it the way we want to do it too.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well, we have got a lot of interesting topics to talk about this week for web development news. So let's get started.
Let's do it.
All right. Jack, do you want to kick us off this week?
With pleasure. So TanStack, which is coming out with TanStack Start, which is currently in RSC, is actually going to add RSC support, React Server Component support, before 1.0, and it will probably be the 1.0 marker. So super, super excited about that. It is a unique and novel take on RSC support. You're going to have a couple of different options. There's a very lightweight, low-level API option where you can just simply return a server rendered RSC out of like a server function and just bring it to your page, or you can fetch it, or you can use it. It's just fantastic. Lots of cool things you can do with that. And then there's this new composite style of RSC where you can actually give it slots. So you can do more of like a layout style RSC. So you've got like a static layout, and then you've got the interactive components that you can slot in there. I've been playing with it. It is really, really cool. I'm super excited about it. And it doesn't have the issues, the CVE issues. So super excited about that too.
That is very cool. So when will people be able to try this out themselves?
Hopefully right after they hear this. So,
nice.
This week it should be releasing. Really excited.
And presumably the plan is to keep it out there for a while, let people test it, stabilize it before calling all this.
Yeah, we're going to get some feedback about the API and on all that. But I think it's going to be, it's fairly stable. So, and of course, the original RC stuff, that has not changed in months. So it's very, very stable. We've just been kind of hardening it, making sure that it works with all the different vendors and all that. But yeah, this is essentially now we are at feature parity with all of Next.js. So you're not losing anything by going with TanStack Start, which is fantastic.
Well, and then what does deployment look like? Who can you deploy with? How does all that work?
Sure. So there are deployment adapters specifically for Cloudflare and Netlify, but there's also the Nitro adapter, which will get you pretty much everywhere else. So if you want to Dockerize it, you want to put it on your own NAS, you want to put it on a Raspberry Pi, no problem at all. So Nitro is going to get you basically everywhere that those two don't. And then the Netlify and your Cloudflare one's going to give you access to all the extra coolness of the Netlify architecture and the Cloudflare architecture.
Cool.
Very nice.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited about it. You guys you're going to love playing with it. It is really, really fun.
Sweet. All right. TJ, what's your news for the week?
I have some news with Yarn, which is our tool of the week that is switching to Rust, as seems to be the case. So I've got a quote for you from their blog post. Quote, almost 10 years after the first public release of Yarn, now is the perfect time to reveal our plans to port Yarn to Rust. This project started over a year ago, is now ready to share more broadly. While still a preview, we expect to complete this transition in the next 6 to 8 months. So as a little bit of background, because when I read that Yarn was 10 years old, I nearly dropped my keyboard.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been that long.
What?
I could not believe that. But Yarn was started in 2016. It was started by Sebastian McKenzie at Facebook at the time, now Meta, and it was done in collaboration with Google and some other tech companies. It was always kind of a independent initiative, so it was never really under the Facebook Meta umbrella. It was its own GitHub org. It had its own set of maintainers. And it was initially developed largely for performance reasons because NPM, especially at the time, was not known for being fast.
Yeah.
But also for reliability. So Yarn was what first created the lock file, yarn.lock, which eventually came to package lock in the NPM world. But a lot of that stuff with Yarn was a very long time ago. And personally, I've not been following the Yarn project all that much since. So this is the part that was news to me. But in 2020, the Yarn team pushed out Yarn 2.0.
Right. Yes.
Which
that was a big deal.
Which was a pretty big rewrite of the entire code base. And it kind of had because it was such a big change and had a lot of breaking changes, it kind of forked the Yarn usage. Some people stuck on Yarn 1, which is Yarn Classic. And then Yarn kept going, and then they're on like version 4 or something like that now.
Really?
I
Wow.
didn't know that.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah. Either 4 or maybe 5 since this announcement is Yarn 6. So Yarn's been going
Good
around.
Lord.
And nowadays it's hard because I think the big players in this world is still obviously NPM. NPM is the default everywhere, so it's hard to compete with the default. But we now also have PNPM. There's also Bun, which has a package manager, amongst other things. And Bun is the only one really making a performance play in this.
No. PNPM makes a big performance play.
Let me rephrase that.
That's why I use it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, PNPM's big thing is that they have the like global registry, right? When you install in your project, there's just one place on your computer where those files are stored in your project that kind of symlink to them. What I meant by performance is PNPM is still written in TypeScript. Whereas Yarn is now going to Rust. Bun has Zig under the hood. And so I don't know. I guess Yarn is probably trying to compete on performance metrics, my guess would be the idea behind this. But I don't know. I just thought it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it was surprising to me that Yarn is up to 6.
Right?
I thought,
same.
I remember all of the debate around 2 and all the breaking changes and the people who got upset by that. And then I just feel like I didn't hear from Yarn after that. So good on them for keeping on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to see what version of Yarn I have. Blood. I have 1.22.22.
That's the same one.
I was going to say, I have a very old version of 1.22.17 that's still running a project.
I win 22.22.
I've got 22.22 also installed here. But you know what? It does work when I
Why
do use
are we on the
it.
same version? Like I don't understand. Like I must
because
be
that's
some
the latest that's the latest in the classic line.
Oh,
we didn't want to go through the pain of upgrading and handling the breaking changes. Apparently, none of us.
Yeah.
Yarn upgrade. I'm gonna do it right now. You know what the heck, right?
Boy.
Ooh, yeah. Oops. Oh, okay. That's the Yarn upgrade. This directory. I see. Well, maybe not then.
I think, though, I struggled to find good usage comparisons, but the data I did find seemed to suggest that NPM is still the most popular package manager out there for very obvious reasons.
Yeah, I think it's just the default.
The default.
Yeah. PNPM, I think, is now a solid second option. And then you still have Yarn and then Bun. Bun's not best known for its package manager. It's best known for other things. So it's still kind of a minor player in this space. And I think that's kind of what the landscape is like today. I still mostly use just NPM, although like I've toyed with PNPM and I really should just take the plunge because every time people describe it to me, it sounds like a big upgrade. But who knows? Maybe I'll be switching to Yarn 6 in 6 to 8 months here.
Who knows? I mean, NPX is another one that's pretty well used. And I think that one does something similar with installs where it doesn't actually, I'm trying to remember exactly how it works, but that's another one that I've used in the past.
Well, isn't NPX, NPMs just like one time
It's their
install?
execution one, yeah.
Yes, maybe
Yeah,
that's
that's
it.
just
Right,
like
there's
the run it once and don't
PM,
keep it.
PX, and all the X variants.
Yeah.
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 No,
I think it's because, by the way, I think we're all on, well, whatever, because of Core-Pak. Core-Pak is what's actually bringing in Yarn. And then I think we need to use, I guess, Yarn init -2. And then we might get like 6 or something. I don't know. I'm so confused.
There's so many acronyms in the space that I remember now. Dino also has a package manager.
Oh yeah. Well, Dino's it's got the package manager, but it's also a little interesting. Like they've also got the import from a URL type deal, but I think they're kind of deprecating that. I don't know what's going on. Like lots of stuff going on.
Lots of ways to install.
Well, now I'm on 4.1.2. Okay, so Yarn init -2, and I jumped up to 4. Maybe I'll jump up to 6 at some point. I don't know.
Well, 6 isn't out yet, so they've just kind of announced that this is in the works. It's in the works. It's going to be Rust, but there's no action items today. So today, stick with your whatever npm pmpm thing you're using today. But we'll help you keep tabs on this when news comes out, and maybe Yarn will put itself back into the package manager discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta tell you, this is like another one of those things where it's like when you go to like a 2.0, you really gotta watch out. Like Angular did this when they went from like Angular to AngularJS or AngularJS to
that was AngularJS
and,
to Angular
they
2.
lost a bunch of people, and I think the Yarn did the same thing. They went with the 2.0 thing, they made it a thing, and now it's like you got some folks who stuck with it and did the Yarn 2 thing, and now they're on Yarn 4, and I think everybody else is kind of, I guess, like I went to like PMPM, so because it's just that much faster. It's just fast. Like really
Gatsby did it as well. They went from Gatsby 1.0, and then they had a bunch of breaking changes in 2, and that just killed so much of their momentum.
Yeah. Don't do the breaking changes thing, guys. Seriously. Really.
Well, speaking of rewrites in Rust and making your JavaScript tooling faster, Rolldown, which is one of the many packages from the Void Zero team, has just reached RC stage. So it is in release candidate 1.0, which to them and to the rest of the world in their blog post and their announcement means API stability. So you are pretty much clear at this point to start using Rolldown in any of your packages that used Rollup previously. And you will have 10 to 30x faster than Rollup's ability to bundle, complete capabilities and compatibility with the Rollup plugin API. So whatever plugins you're using with Rollup should also work just fine with Rolldown. And native CJS and ESM interoperability. So your ES modules and your common JS modules will work with it. Built-in Node.js module resolution, and built-in transforms for your JavaScript, your TypeScript, your JSX, and your syntax lowering, which I'm not sure what syntax lowering is, but they made a point to call that out, powered by their OXC compiler.
Syntax lowering?
I don't know what that is, but they wrote about it, so I will report on it.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
But for anybody who's not as familiar with Void Zero and their whole push to rewrite the tool chain for JavaScript and TypeScript, this is their JavaScript TypeScript bundler, and it's written in Rust also, because what is not? And it's just designed to work with the Vite ecosystem. So if you use Vite for any of your projects, which you're probably using if you're not using Next.js, then you've got access to Vite test, you've got access to all of these different OXC tools that they're building as well. And Rollup is just part of that ecosystem, which has now been completely replaced with Rolldown. But unlike other companies and other teams, which have the breaking changes that make it much harder to migrate, Void Zero and the team have really put in a whole lot of work to make this as seamless as possible. And actually, I think in the next version of Vite that's coming out, which might be Vite 8, Rolldown is going to be the default bundler. So it will just be in there when you upgrade, and you should hopefully have no issues and just get all the performance benefits and gains.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be when most people are going to be actually exposed to this, because I think for most of us, we're not day in, day out playing with lower level bundlers for fun. But when it starts to get...
No?
No, well, I mean, actually, with this podcast audience, actually, there probably are some people here that
Maybe
that do
so.
that.
Maybe so.
That do
Just
that for
YOLO
fun.
those dependencies.
Yeah. But I think for most of us, when this finds its way into Vite, we'll
It
end
works. That's
seeing
what I
that.
care about. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyone want to know what syntax lowering means, by the way?
I actually do.
Please.
Okay. It means actually putting new shocks in your car and dropping them way down. No, just kidding. Okay. Syntax lowering and roll down refers to the process of automatically transforming modern JavaScript syntax into the equivalent code that works on older browsers and environments. So basically,
Oh, it's basically
knowledge
saying syntax
coalescing
dumbing
goes
down.
away. All
Yeah.
that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting term for it. I like it.
Yeah, right? I always thought
Yeah.
I guess I didn't know a term for it, come to think of it. It was like, IE6 compatibility or whatever, it's like older, like ECMAScript, 2022 compatibility or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Targets. Yeah. Okay, there you go.
We've learned
Syntax
something
lowering.
new.
Low rider.
Yeah. So, congrats to the Void Zero team. They've been pushing out a lot of code and a lot of changes just within the last few months. So they're really making good on their promise to just improve the whole tool chain leaps and bounds and in very quick time. So good on them.
Awesome.
All right. I know for a fact that we have some lightning news. So let's get into that. All right. So first piece of lightning news, which goes back to what Jack was talking about with TanStack RSCs, is that there is another RSC CVE breach that has been reported and patched by Vercel. This happened, I know, it was like in December of last year. It was just like breaches all over the place, patches, security updates nonstop. And unfortunately, that has continued this year. There were more high severity vulnerabilities that were discovered. And these particular vulnerabilities are triggered by sending specially crafted HTTP requests to server function endpoints. And the result could be server crashes, out of memory experiences, and excessive CPU usage. So go forth and upgrade all of your React-based applications, everybody, even if you're not using RSCs. If you're on a version 19 or above of React, you're probably just going to want to do it to be safe.
At the risk of being inflammatory, this is not going to stop, by the way. What they're doing now is they're basically doing like regexes to try and see if the incoming payloads are abusive. And so for every regex that they add, there's going to be a hacker who's going to find out, and figure out a way to get around it. And it's going to be a never ending fountain of this stuff. And the weird thing is that like, this is supporting a feature that nobody uses. Like nobody sends like flight payloads to their server functions. I didn't even know that you could do that.
Yeah, I did not either.
Right? Server functions, it's like you go send it, like an object, user foo, blah, 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 right? Like it's all an object filled with simple values or some primitive numbers or whatever it is. That's what you send to a server function. But no, you can send a tree. And that's really cool from a CS standpoint. That's really neat and interesting. But it also means that like it opens up this huge can of worms on the server. And yeah, these will not stop. Guys, like, I'm sorry. Like the real fix here is to actually have a mode for like Next.js where they just disable that feature and they don't allow it. And it's like, you can send primitive data, cool. And nobody's going to care. They're going to be like, yeah, great. And like another mode or like a different setting on that mode to say like, I don't use server functions at all. So just disable them entirely. That's how it has to go. But no, otherwise we're going to get leaks forever.
Okay, so I still don't truly understand what is the entry point to this? Like, what are you sending to the server functions beyond primitives that's causing this?
It's called flight data. So the idea is that you can like serialize like any kind of like tree structure and then send that down. And because they wanted to optimize like references, so that if you've got one part of a tree that points to an object, and then another part of the tree that points to the same object, you're going to be able to serialize that reference. Because they can do that and like hyper optimize that flight payload, that means that the server actually has to like evaluate the object structure dynamically. And if you kind of follow that chain of reasoning, you end up in a space where people can just crawl around the VM tree using those references and get access to stuff like new function, give it some, value, and then voila, you've got injection, or you've got, other abusive stuff like, memory outages or server falling over, blah, 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 blah. Which is like nearly as bad.
Because you're giving it a very serialized thing. So there's code to parse that very serialized thing. And then if you're going to do that, you could put malicious things in there to get unserialized and try to hit certain code paths.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like a not non-deterministically, but like it's a very powerful serialization format that's more powerful than JSON. JSON, if you had like multiple objects that would point to the same object, they would just have copies, inside the JSON, because there's no way to do references in JSON. Right. No. Flight data, you can do references, and that opens up this huge can of worms.
Yeah, in the past, when I've had to serialize rich objects, I've usually decided to not serialize rich objects.
Or just give it an ID or something like that. It's like, oh, this all points to ID, and you got to look up table of, customer ID, blah, 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 blah. You do it manually, right? But no. This, like, that I guess they didn't want people doing that. And so, yeah. So, yeah, this will not stop.
It sounds like the moral of this story, Jack, is to move to TanStack from Next.js.
Yeah, because we don't use those server functions. Like, and it was funny because like early on, I was like, talking to Tanner, like, why don't we use the React server functions? And the real answer was because the server functions are actually part of Start Core, and Start Core is agnostic between React and Solid and this sort of stuff. So we use the same server functions for everything. We use the same server functions for Vue, all of it. So we couldn't use the React server functions directly unless we wanted to tie ourselves just to React, right? But the net benefit is like we don't support anything other than basic types, like objects, arrays, JSON serializable stuff. And if you can't do JSON serializable, it ain't going through, which means that it's solid as a rock, and you're not going to get the CVEs unless you write them for yourself, which that's up to you.
But we can't be responsible for that. Do what you want.
Right. If you want to write your own vulnerabilities for yourself, you can let Claude write your vulnerabilities for you. Like, that's fine.
Claude will do it with a smile.
Right. Exactly. You're absolutely right. Of course you want your user to be able to go and execute code on the server.
Yeah, it's a feature. You're giving them database access.
Right.
Yeah, I got stories about that from the Dreamweaver days. We used to go and deploy a script that would allow people to like change or look at the database through their website, and people would deploy that to production. Yeah. Yeah. That was not great.
The web.
The web, the early days, which are now today, same thing, whatever.
Again, yeah.
Still nobody learns.
All right. Well, the other bit of news is a more interesting kind of not a lot of details topic so far, but apparently Mozilla's president has decided that he is building what he calls a quote unquote rebel alliance of sorts.
Okay.
There was an article that was out earlier this week, and basically the president has, and others in the area, not just him, but many people are concerned about the weight and the clout that places like OpenAI and Anthropic have now in the AI space. They are, they have billions of dollars at their disposal, and they really cannot be easily swayed or moved or turned away from whatever it is that they want to focus on next. So he and many others in Silicon Valley are interested in trying to create a more open and trustworthy and decentralized state of AI, I guess, in the industry.
Love it. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Make it for the people, by the people.
Love it. Love it.
So what they're doing is Mozilla is deploying $1.4 billion to support mission-driven tech startup businesses and nonprofits that are promoting AI transparency and safety. And there's not a whole lot of details beyond that, like which startups these are or what nonprofits they're really focused on. But there are a coalition of people and groups who are already on board with this. And it will be interesting to see if Mozilla can actually make any headway because, like I said, OpenAI's and Anthropic's valuations and just annual revenue are staggering. So if a little company like Mozilla can take them on, power to them. I hope that they can make a difference.
So this is part of Mozilla Ventures, which I just today learned was a thing,
Right.
because I don't totally understand why Mozilla has like this mini venture capital wing of it. But I will say that nothing Mozilla does other than Firefox has ever made any sense to me. And nothing Mozilla's done other than Firefox has ever really worked, at least from a financial perspective. I think they just recently testified last year that Google is still 85 to 90% of their revenue. So that's just, they make all their money from Google being their default search. And throughout the last few decades, as a big Firefox fan, I've kind of followed them semi-closely. And I've seen them try all sorts of things that never amounted to anything. They had the Thunderbird thing, which is like an email client that some people liked, but they never really made any
Thunderbird
money off of it.
Yeah.
They have a VPN service, which they still run. I don't know who's using Mozilla's VPN or why they're doing that.
Yeah, there's
They have
Tailscale now. Like
They had Pocket, which was like this link finding sharing thing. That was a thing for a while. They shut that down.
I didn't realize those were all theirs, actually.
No one did. And so apparently now they're trying venture capital for AI, and that doesn't really make any sense to me. But you know what? Why not? I don't know. I wish them the best of luck. I think it's a worthwhile mission, maybe some way for them to stand out. I will say that they're investing one point something billion dollars, and that is like a penny in the world of AI with the current investments. But let's see what happens.
Yeah. It's kind of funny, though, because we reported on this, I don't even remember how many episodes ago, that Mozilla and Firefox were saying that they were bringing AI into the Firefox browser in some way that was different and, unique than all the other AI-powered browsers. And then the Firefox fan base went wild and hated it and didn't want it in any way, shape, or form, and wanted immediately a kill switch to turn off all AI-related things in Firefox. So it seems like they've walked that back with the latest release of Firefox, which was 147, I believe. There was no mention of it last week when we talked about it. And now they've come out with this, taking aim to try and be what Mozilla is known for, which is the open source advocate and the transparency, safety kind of company that they've always been. So yeah, it will be very interesting to see if they can make headway in this regard.
Yeah, and I like that way of positioning them as a reason for Mozilla to exist, because also back to Firefox's original origins, that was kind of the whole rebel. They were the rebel against Microsoft.
Yeah.
Microsoft had the
IE
monopoly and
hegemony.
They were the small upstart, and so if they're going to try to fight this fight in the AI world, I think that gives them a reason to stand out in a world that's very hard to stand out in.
Yeah,
I gotta say, like, I was looking at this right now, their portfolio so far, and it's big. Hugging Face. There's a bunch of one in there. Credo AI. Actually, I don't know many of these companies, but like this is, they're definitely,
there's some names in there.
There's some names, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
and we need Firefox to continue. Just as a browser, we do not need Google and Chrome and WebKit and Safari to be the only things in the browser space. We need Firefox still as a third option.
Latest release, they shipped a bunch for web standards. There was some new view transition stuff in there. There was CSS anchoring stuff that we talked about last week. So they've done a pretty good job. I mean, they're fighting. I mean, they're up against competing engines, like you said, from Google and Apple, two of the richest companies in the world. And, they're hanging in there, which I think is extremely commendable.
Yeah. So we'll keep you updated on that because it's interesting. I love the language, though. The Rebel Alliance just makes me think of Star Wars immediately, and I'm sure that's what they were going for.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's good marketing. I like it.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, all right. Well, let's talk about what's making us happy this week. How about that?
All right.
All right. TJ, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, AI for household tasks is making me happy yet again. I've got another story for you. So it was, this past week, it was very, very cold in Michigan. I think we hit a low of, I think, around -14 for a temperature. And I woke up that day, later in the day, we tried to use the washing machine and it just wouldn't run. And it turns out the pipe had the line running to the washer had frozen. And
that's not good.
It actually isn't as bad as I thought because it didn't actually burst any pipes.
Yeah, okay, that's the deal.
I
was able to, with a space heater, warm it up and get that running. However, the effect of doing this got me to move my washing machine, and I discovered that it had been leaking for the last who knows how long, and I had like rust on the back of the washing machine. And so my first instinct was like, oh, I'm going to have to call a plumber or whatever. But then I busted out my handy ChatGPT.
Okay.
And we had an extended session and it totally fixed my leak. So the problem was it had like a little elbow joint where like this metal thing that connects it to the back of the washer. And that thing was super, super corroded. Oh. And right away, ChatGPT was like, you got to clean that thing because there's a good thing. That's considering that's where the corrosion is. That's probably where the leak is. So it had me soak it in vinegar. And so after you soak it, it said, don't scrub it too hard. Just give it a quick rinse, put it back on. We talked to it for a while. It wasn't perfect. It gave me some bad advice along the process.
Yeah,
so,
sometimes it does. Yeah.
It was a little back and forth because I asked it to see if it could find that same one, like replacement ones online. And it found some very bad options, but it kept reassuring me you don't need a replacement. It's like metal doesn't really go bad like this. You can get that corrosion off. And sure enough, I got it back in. Has not been leaking for the last week or two. And it's another thing that like I wouldn't have even known what to do in that situation if I hadn't had something to guide me through it, because I'm very bad when it comes to plumbing. I don't really know my way around what I'm doing. I get nervous. I don't know, like, what is this pipe connected to? How do I shut it off? Am I going to screw something up? And it's funny how just having something there to teach you the basics and to nudge you forward can, it saved me calling a plumber for just do one small little thing. And I don't know, it's making me happy because it helped me fix something that I wouldn't have fixed otherwise.
Yeah. Well, I have a story that I can share because I was talking to my husband about how you guys were using it around the house to fix stuff and learn things. And he shared a story with me of how he got a contract for his company. He has a marine dredging company for anybody who's listening and interested. But he got a contract from a contractor who wanted to use them. And it was one of these many, 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 many pages of legalese.
Yeah.
And he uploaded it to ChatGPT and said, go through this, look through, and tell me what would be bad for my company to accept in this contract so that I can X through it and send it back to them. And it did it like a champ. It highlighted so many things that would have been detrimental to them in terms of getting paid and work days and weather days and all this other stuff that you have to take into account, and helped him without him needing to read through it or hire an attorney or somebody who was specialized in that kind of thing. And he said it saved them a ton of time, and it saved them a ton of potential money that they would have been out because of the way that it was structured. And that is
huge.
That right there is a great use case for it. All those fancy terms and conditions that none of us read, but all of us sign. That's a good use case.
Well, it's just a standard NDA.
Exactly.
Don't worry about it.
We went through a similar experience. This was several months ago, but my wife had previously worked for a startup. She had left that startup for a while, but she still had some shares from when she worked there. And that company was acquired. So she got this email with this PDF, right? A very intimidating PDF that says you need to sign this. And it's, again, a situation like, she doesn't really know people who work at that company anymore because she has left for a while. You don't want to really hire a lawyer for that. But so we threw it into ChatGPT and just said, like, explain this to us in really simple terms. And it was like, yeah, this is what it means. This money will go to, it basically told her she's screwed, unfortunately, which wasn't really a surprise because this startup didn't actually do super, super well. But we didn't waste extra time on it, right? Yeah. We just threw it in there, and it was just like, the money's going to go to preferred shareholders. It explained what preferred shareholders were. It explained how she was not a preferred shareholder. But, it basically put it into common sense terms that their HR department would never actually do.
Right. And that's the kind of thing where you can ask dumb questions or what seem like dumb questions and have ChatGPT explain it in great detail so you can understand it finally.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Well, that's a good one, TJ. I think we're finding more and more use cases outside of just coding for these AI assistants in real life. Cool. Jack, what's making you happy this week?
Vaseline. I know it sounds terrible, but like
explain.
It's super dry and also cold in Oregon right now. And I don't know what it is, man, but like my hands are just cracking like nobody's business and it hurts. And so, using Vaseline on now I'm just like, I have it everywhere. So I can just like, put it on my fingers and my, all of that stuff all the time to keep everything, hydrated. I usually run not hydrated, and in winter it gets really bad. So yeah, really happy for that. It's a weird thing to be happy about, but it is so critical.
Yeah, I used to use it all the time. Back when I ran and did stuff more, it was the ultimate like body. Now they have like body glide type of stuff, but nothing ever beats just straight up. If you really need it to work, Vaseline is where it's at.
Yeah, I think recently they did a study about like we were using like some antibiotic cream, and they were like, yeah, no, it's just use Vaseline, whatever.
Yeah.
I have a great Vaseline lip balm. I think it's called cocoa butter or something, and it is so good in the winter when your lips do get chapped and dried out. Like you put some of that stuff on, they are not going to get dried out while it's there.
Yeah,
and it doesn't rub off easily either, which is great.
Yeah, that's great. I ended up finding in this like obscure little store this like absurdly large, and the name is something like absurdly large or obnoxiously large lip balm, and it is. I mean, it's like a 3-inch long lip balm, but man, that stuff never runs out, and it's good. So I went and got like a couple more tubes and put those in the car and anywhere and everywhere. Just think about it. Done. Gotta get it.
I got a new humidifier that has the previous humidifier we had was just dumb. It just took water, it evaporated water, whatever. This one has a thing where it can sense the humidity in the room. So I've had it during the winter just kind of running.
That's a good idea.
It senses when it gets to an acceptable level and then just kind of shuts itself off. And that's another thing because the humidity, everything's just so dry.
It's brutal.
Oh, I saw the coolest thing on Instagram earlier this week, and it is basically an in-home humidity system where it does the same thing. It senses the humidity in the house, and it turns them on and off just as needed to get to an acceptable level. It was so cool. I want that in my next house for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, I think they have ones that are like built into the furnace system somehow. I don't know how that actually
just pump it all through the house, I guess, right?
I guess. I don't
somehow.
I don't really know, but
yeah,
something to consider.
Very cool.
I don't know.
Definitely.
All right. So what's making me happy this week is the newest season of Landman, which is Paramount Plus Taylor Sheridan, another of his many ideas and TV shows. So if you liked Yellowstone or Lioness or I'm trying to think of all the stuff that he's done. He's just
he
done
did
Tulsa
Lioness?
King.
Okay.
He did Lioness.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Tulsa King, if you just look up Taylor Sheridan, he is having a absolute banger of a last few years. And Landman is no different. It is Billy Bob Thornton, and he is an oil man in Texas, and it is just great. It is so entertaining. It's so gritty and real, and like makes you, I guess, appreciate or understand more how difficult it is to be a person who works in the oil industry, which is a really hard job. I mean, it is dangerous. They get paid a lot, but boy, it is dangerous to do. But it's really, really enjoyable to watch. The whole cast is great. Sam Elliott comes in season 2 and has a really, with his awesome mustache.
Yeah,
he's great. Yeah, it's very enjoyable to watch. Season 2 is just as exciting as season 1 in different ways. Demi Moore is in it. John Hamm is in it. They've got some really great names in it.
This dude can write. I see there's so many shows and so many episodes. I don't know how he has the energy, but it seems like there's a new show that I have not heard exists from him every few months. Yeah.
So be glad that he started out as kind of an actor, trying to be an actor in Hollywood, and that wasn't working. Yeah, his career just wasn't really taking off. He was getting small parts, but nothing, I guess, really big. And so he transitioned into writing, and boy, he's got some good stories to tell.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So give that a watch if you're looking for something to watch and get hooked on. It's a really good one. All right. Well, I think that is going to wrap it up for this episode of Front End Fire. Thanks, as always, to our sponsor, the Blue Collar Coder channel on YouTube. And if you want to come hang out with us, we have our own Discord channel where we talk about all this and more. And we're on all the socials, X and Blue Sky and LinkedIn as well. So thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
See you next week.